There's one thing we have to agree on. When you've been playing Minecraft for 8 years and you still see this, you either feel like throwing your computer out the window or just playing a different game. The second option is definitely safer, or maybe it's better not to pick either of those, because today I'm going to show you how to do exactly this. And this is honestly pretty impressive. Of course, this is all without any mods, right on your own server, so let's go. Okay, let's go. But don't worry, if you're not really into such advanced crafting and just want, for example, to craft yourself a saddle in Minecraft, we'll cover things like that here too. Intro. Okay, the plugins for custom models that we're going to use today can be a bit pricey sometimes, but luckily I can show you these things thanks to my supporters, whom you can see on the screen right now, and I really appreciate them and thank them a lot. And if you want to become a supporter, just click the button below, support, join, something like that, and let's get back to the episode. Alright, so what do you need today? You'll need a Minecraft server, a plugin for custom crafting, which is what we'll be working on today, possibly a plugin for custom models, which I'll also show you today, and coffee. Oh wait, the coffee is just for me. I'm the only one addicted. So first, we'll install the custom crafting plugin on the server, then we'll make a crafting recipe. For example, for a saddle and an emerald sword, and after that, we'll use custom models to craft a skeleton and an axe, which sounds absolutely awesome. And it really is absolutely awesome. Alright, so let's move over to the desktop. I'm quitting my job as a YouTuber. It's just too much. Okay, the wallpaper is back to normal now, thankfully. And I just wanted to show you here on the desktop that I'll be using a server on my own computer. If you don't know how to set up a server like this, but you think it might come in handy, check out the cards in the description. There's a cool tutorial waiting for you there. But getting back to our desktop, this is where I'll generally be putting all the plugins, managing the server, and so on. Of course, if you have hosting or your servers are somewhere else, then without. No worries, you just edit the files wherever you have them, okay? So first, let's talk about the custom crafting plugin. I found one that I think is the best for this kind of thing. It's pretty advanced. Not only does it handle crafting, but you can also craft or create other formulas with it. It really made a positive impression on me. So we click download, it takes us to CurseForge, and here we click download again. Alternatively, you can choose a plugin for a different version in the Files tab. I don't care about the latest version, so I'll just click download. Okay, I chose my desktop, saved it, and now all that's left is to upload this file to the server, of course. I already have it on the server. The server is up and running, so let's just go straight to Minecraft. Here you might also notice that I have a few different plugins besides custom crafting, but you don't need to worry about them, except for one, Wolfeoodles. This is a plugin that's required for custom crafting to work, so you need to have these two plugins. You might ask where you can get Wolfeoodles, so we can go to custom crafting, and if we scroll down here, it actually says that Wolfeoodles is required and we can download it here, meaning right here. We click, it takes us to another plugin, and we download that one as well. Of course, just like with Bucket and custom crafting, we upload everything to the server. So once these two plugins are ready, we can get started. Alright, so an interesting thing is that the plugin adds a recipe book to the server. These are recipes from this plugin, which we can preview here. For example, this book, the massive crafting book, is listed here, and this is how you craft it. So if we take the book, of course, there are motorcycles driving by outside, because that's just how it is now. And we'll also grab the crafting table and the book. So now, oh wait, that's someone drilling. Great. Alright, so for now, I guess you can't really hear it that much, so let's keep going. So we've got the book and the crafting table, and this way we can create the first item from this plugin, which is the eShop book. In there, we'll be able to preview our later textures, Just the crafting recipes, okay? So let's check if there's actually a crafting recipe for a saddle. Of course, you can try different things. Here you make a hat, here you make nothing. Alright, so we can see there's no crafting recipe for a saddle, and especially not a recipe like this, so that's exactly what we're going to make. Let's grab a saddle here as well. Right here, and we enter the main command for this plugin, which is /cc. A GUI opens up for us, and here we can see, just like on the website, various recipes that can be created, even a campfire or just greenstone. In this tutorial, of course, we'll focus on crafting. Let's go into it, and we see something like this. Here, we can arrange our recipe, and in this spot, we put what we want to get from the recipe, in this case, a saddle. And once we save this crafting recipe, we'll be able to craft a saddle this way. However, there are a few other interesting things here that I'd like to show you. First, there's the option to save this crafting recipe in the recipe book, which is the book I just showed you. If we uncheck this, it simply won't appear there, but let's keep it checked. Why not? And here's the second option, whether this crafting recipe should be saved in the regular crafting book. So if we exit and look at the crafting, you'll see that my craft normally has this little book, and in this spot, the recipe can also show up, which is an absolutely awesome feature. Let's go back to CC and see how nicely the plugin remembers what we set up, so we don't have to worry about our items disappearing here or having to arrange them all over again. Okay, next option. There's a bit more to this. These are the conditions. We have an empty list here right now, and we can add more conditions to this list using this button. And what are these conditions or rules actually about? Whatever you want to call them. So we can set certain conditions that the player has to meet in order to be able to craft this recipe, this item. First of all, for example, permission, crafting delay, time of day, weather, the biome required for crafting, the player's amount of experience, or rather, levels, or even an achievement that the player gets after crafting this item. The world, crafting, and crafting limit. There are also options that are probably less useful to you. They're more advanced, so we won't be talking about them in this tutorial. And now we can add all these interesting things for us. Let's go back to our list. As you can see, it's right here. We've already added our requirements. Let's go into time. Let's say we want our crafting to only be possible at night. Here, we enter the value for night in ticks. If I remember correctly, that's about 17,000, but I might be wrong. I think that should be night. We can also check it this way. Time set 14 to 17,000. And it's night, yes. So, at this time of day, our item will be craftable. You can also enter any other worlds you have on your server here. If anyone's curious, these worlds are located here. World the End, World Nether, and World. If you have a plugin that allows you to create more worlds, of course you'll find them here as well. That is, in the main server directory. Alright, let's keep going. Crafting limit, meaning how many times the item can be crafted. Let's say it should only be crafted once by one person, so we just enter one here. Crafting delay, meaning the delay in crafting, or in other words, how often someone can craft this item. For example, this is the milliseconds, so 1 second is 1000 milliseconds, which means, for example, 50,000 milliseconds would be 50 seconds. So every 50 seconds, our player will be able to craft this item. Here is the player level that must be required, or rather, fulfilled. To be able to craft the item, let's say, for example, 20 levels, okay, let's move on. Weather, we can choose the weather here. Let's make it, for example, thunder, which means a storm. Next, permission. It has to be in the format you see here in the GUI. So CustomCrafting.craft, the folder name, and the item name. We'll talk about that in a moment. Basically how to name folders and items, because that's important when saving the recipe. And we can set it like this, so CustomCrafting.craft. We'll just name this folder items for simplicity, and the name saddle. If you don't know what permissions and ranks are, check out this tutorial. There's a link in the description as well. In it, I show step by step how to create ranks and set them up in the LagPens plugin. Either way, it's probably the best plugin for permissions, so definitely check it out. And that's the permission our player will need to have in order to craft a saddle. Next, for the biome, we can, for example, set it to desert, which of course means the desert biome. We can add more biomes, and only in those will it be possible to craft these items. I don't really want these requirements, because I wouldn't be able to craft this item, so I'll just remove all of them. So my recipe will just be regular crafting, without any major requirements. Here we can also choose the priority, meaning if our crafting recipe looks like another one, for example, if it looks like the recipe for a hat, we can decide whether this crafting is more important or less important. We leave this option as default if we're not messing around with custom items. Here there are also two options that flip the crafting recipe horizontally and vertically. So for example, it will be possible to craft it. Well, exactly that. Horizontally and vertically, so if your crafting recipe is set up in a specific way and could be a mirror image or vertical flip, then you can also select these options. That depends on your vision of how the crafting should look. Okay, and now we click Save All. Importantly, after clicking, we type "we" in the chat, name the folder, which was supposed to be called Items, and name the item, which is the saddle. Enter. We get a message that the recipe has been. The crafting registered successfully. Now let's open our regular crafting table and arrange this texture. Nice, we've got the saddle. Everything works just smurftastically. Alright, so let's move on to this wild one I've got in my hand right now, which looks absolutely amazing. And let's try to set up a crafting recipe for it, because it's really simple. Now we just arrange the crafting. Maybe let's use some bones to make it more atmospheric. And now let's set up the crafting. Let's say it's something like this, and the result will be our skeleton axe. Of course, you can set conditions, just like I showed earlier. I'm not touching that. We'll just set it here so that it's a full NBT check. Basically, it's for the ingredients here. But if you're playing around with any custom model, I think it's worth checking this option. Let the plugin process it however it wants, and we just click Save All. We enter. Of course, GUI. We'll call it Custom Items and we'll name it Skeleton Support. And now, if we walk up to it, and we want to craft something like this, we have a normal crafting recipe in the regular crafting table. So that's awesome, and it works really well. As for crafting custom models, very often, plugins that offer the addition of custom models to servers already have built-in crafting recipes, or you can adjust them in the configs. So if you only want crafting recipes for custom models, you don't have to install this plugin at all. Just check if your model plugin already has something like that. However, I think it was worth combining these since a lot of people came here for a tutorial on regular items, and as a bonus, there's this cool axe. So you can use this plugin for both regular items and custom ones, which is a really great solution. Granted, this episode is about crafting, not custom models, but I think it would be incomplete if I didn't show how to upload custom models to the server. So let's get to it. Of course, I recommend a lot of plugins for custom models here. It could be Oraxen, Item Satter, Pets, Engine Model. There are all sorts of plugins for this kind of thing. Which one you choose is entirely up to you. Personally, I'm going with Item Satter, and of course, I already have it uploaded here in the files. Item Satter requires lonelibs and protocollib, and I already have the files generated for it, but I'll show you what the author says about the first installation of this plugin. The author recommends uploading the default pack, which you can download here. Of course, I'll link everything in the description. We download the pack as a zip file. I have it on my desktop, so now we can open it, and here inside we have the files. Let's open this folder so we have more of these files visible. And now let's move on to the server directory. At this point, we go into I've. This is, of course, in the plugins tab. We're still there. And we simply drag these plugins from the RAR into our items header. If it asks us to replace any files, of course, we agree to everything. Click to replace the existing ones. Okay, now we start up our server. Now we log into our server. And in the chat, we type izip. Our pack is being compressed, which you can see here at the top of the screen. We have to wait, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, we can see that the pack was successfully compressed and is located at plugins, ida-satter, data, resource pack, pack zip. So let's go to that path. Of course it's in our server directory. Plugins, ida-satter, data, resource pack, and here we have the pack. Let's extract it to the desktop. We have the pack on the desktop, and now let's go to a site like Dropbox. Our pack needs to be hosted somewhere so that the server can download it remotely and provide it to players for download. So we choose Dropbox since it's probably the most accessible hosting for Minecraft. The communication with resource packs works perfectly, so that's why we're using it. You can create a free account here. Now let's go to the desktop, drag our pack here onto the internet and into Dropbox. Okay, the pack is uploaded, click copy link. Now we go back to the server directory, return to the plugins folder, ida-satter, and in the config we paste the copied link. Right here in the URL field. Importantly, change the 0 to a 1 at the end of the link and press Ctrl+S to save. Now all you need to do is enter the command iReload on the server. Now, after using the command iTextureAll or after logging in and out of the server, we can already see the custom models we wanted to upload under the IE command. For example, we can go into the pickaxes, click on a diamond hammer, and click here to obtain it. As you can see, the crafting recipe for it is already set up. That's exactly what I was talking about. It's already prepared in the plugin, and in the config we can also change the get item. We get this hammer, and we can enjoy an awesome looking Minecraft. If you like this tutorial, you can leave a like, subscribe, or comment. It really motivates me. Let's build this channel together, and I'll see you in the next videos. Bye. By the way, look, what a scam. There's no coffee here.